Welcome to the Health on Track podcast. Let's talk well-being.
Welcome to the Health on Track podcast, offering you a shot of wellness. I'm Yasmin, and I'm the Member Engagement and Communications Manager at GIG Gulf Insurance. Our episode today is about a superpower, and no, it's not mind reading. It's about resilience. The ability to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to challenges, and keep moving forward with strength and confidence. Yes, it's not easy, but that's why we're here today with Anne Jackson. She'll teach us the tricks. Anne is a therapeutic life coach with over 15 years of experience supporting individuals through life's challenges. She's the founder of One Life Coaching Middle East, and she specializes in helping people build emotional resilience, navigate stress, and create meaningful, sustainable change. Her integrated approach combines the use of frameworks such as ACT, CBT, TF-CBT with various coaching tools to empower clients to lead more balanced lives. Thank you so much for joining us, Anne.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me. And sorry about the acronyms.
Yeah, it's okay.
There's a
We'll
lot.
get more into them. Okay, can you tell us more about the acronyms and your combined approach?
So CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's very much, you can look at it in one of two ways. What you think creates what you feel, and what you feel creates what you do or how you act. And some people look at it how you feel creates what you think, then creates what you act. You can look at it in either way. But that's really, if we figure out what you think, we're going to then be able to change how you feel about it, because we'll change perspectives, and then we'll change how you act about it. And that leads to resilience, obviously. Compassion-focused therapy is to have compassion for yourself, and acceptance therapy is to, yes, this is where I'm at, this is what's happened, and I'll accept it, and I can move forward whilst accepting that this is what happened. So it's about accepting what has happened, and it's okay. But it's not just like saying, well, okay, that's fine, I'll forget about it. It's about actually accepting it and processing it. So those are some of the acronyms. There's a few more. And TF-CBT is very specific. It's trauma-focused CBT. And it was created during 9/11 for the children between 7 and 18 who had to suffer through 9/11. So now it's just for children who go through trauma, basically. Any children from usually 7 to 18. And there's a whole schema around it on how to do it. But a lot of those tools you can use with people who are grown up going through trauma.
Okay, makes sense. So how would you define resilience?
Resilience is, like you said very well, the ability to bounce back, the ability to cope with difficult situations, the ability to think logically whilst difficult situations are happening, the ability to process your emotions or to live with your emotions whilst difficult things are happening. So there's a couple of times where it looks like resilience, but it really isn't. So it used to be that people used to say, oh, you know, if you got 2 arms and 2 legs, you can do your job, pull your socks up, get on with it. And people did pull their socks up and get on with it. And so they pretended that they weren't stressed, or they pretend in an office environment, they pretended that they weren't upset, or they weren't stressed, or it didn't affect them, or nothing could ever touch them. But then they'd go home and start shouting at their family, or I don't know, hit the dog, or do something. So they would let it out. So that's not someone being able to cope with the situation, that's somebody pretending the situation's not actually affecting them, when actually it is. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
And then some people can go into freeze mode. So there's sort of fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Freeze mode means that you just freeze whenever something that is a bit shocking happens. That could look like resilience because you're not actually reacting to it. But you might have gone into freeze mode and not be resilient, as it were. So resilience is the ability to be able to cope with difficult situations, to not expect that difficult situations don't happen, because they do, to know that anxiety will happen, to know that, you know, things do happen, but that you can cope with it, you can bounce back. You're going to feel not good about it, but you will bounce back.
Okay, so addressing the topic of the episode then, building resilience. How do we build resilience?
Let's start all the way back to childhood, where everything starts.
Yeah, true. So
when we have an environment and a community who support us as a child, where we know that if we fall, somebody's going to catch us, where we know that if we make a mistake, somebody is going to help us do better next time, where we're not negatively judged, where we're not told off, where we're not, you know, we don't have people going, what do you mean you got 18 out of 20? What happened to the other 2 marks? all that does not build resilience. Like negatively criticizing children, shaming children, you know, telling them they're not doing good enough, all that creates the opposite of resilience. But when you have, you know, what I say when I'm working with parents and their kids come back and they say, I got 5 out of 10, our job as parents is to say, and what do you think about that? Because we actually don't know. So maybe they're going to say that was the top mark and everybody got less. Maybe they're going to say that was really rubbish and I didn't study. But it's what they think about it that's important, not us say, assume that 5 out of 10 is just average. We don't know. So when we're not sort of being pushed in a negative way, but we're being pushed in a positive way, when people support us and hold us, then we have this viewpoint that, you know, the world is good and there are people there that will always support and hold us, basically. And then we attract people who are good and who do support and hold us. So the viewpoint just carries on and then forever. So these people have some type of natural resilience because they've been born with, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm in a terrible place, but you know, there's always people there to catch us. They know that there's always a community. So that's kind of where you might have it naturally. When you're in your childhood and for whatever reason, not blaming anybody at all on the planet, you in a place where you figure out that you have to do it all yourself, that there really isn't anyone there to help you. So you have to figure out your homework by yourself, you have to put your tie your shoelaces by yourself, whatever. Then it's kind of like, I'm on my own here. And once you feel like you're on your own, you will be losing resilience because you'll be working out of fear. If you don't do it, nobody else will do it. So that's how you don't build resilience. So there are people who have it naturally because they've come from a place where they've always been supported. There are people who don't have it naturally. And your question was, how do you build it? In 101 different ways. There are so many different ways.
Someone who did not have it naturally and now they realize that, you know, they are not resilient, they don't know how to cope with stress or setbacks, and they want to improve, they want to know what they can do so that they can be more resilient.
We can look at the surface level stuff and I can give you some tricks for the surface level stuff, but really it's important to go into the deeper stuff as to why are they not resilient in the first place, or why didn't they build that in their childhood or somewhere along the way, and why are we having to build it now? But if we're going to look at the surface stuff, just sort of tricks that we could take, knowing how to emotionally regulate. So you're not going to sort of explode over stress. You're not going to explode. You know that understanding that all emotions are okay, that negative emotions are there to inform us, and it's okay to feel sad and it's okay to feel depressed, and we're not trying to run away from it. So it's not like this is really sad, I don't want to be in this situation and I'm going to run away from it and try and make myself feel happy. You don't have to. You can actually feel sad about something. You can feel stressed about something. So the first thing is knowing those emotions and understanding that it's okay to have negative emotions. I once heard somebody on a film say, I'm not happy, but I'm not sad about not being happy.
Okay.
Which I thought was a great sentence. Like, he wasn't meant to be happy because in the scene he was in a funeral. So he's not sad about not being happy because he's not meant to be happy.
Because I'm supposed to be sad.
He's supposed to be sad, and that's a very specific situation. But if somebody at work upsets you or they say something wrong, you're entitled to be upset. It's how you shouldn't react to it. You should respond to it. But you are entitled. So it's allowing yourself to be upset, allowing yourself to be sad, allowing yourself to get angry. Like, and once you actually allow yourself, you'll have it less. If you allow yourself to get angry, you'll end up not being as angry, if that makes sense. Allowing yourself, being compassionate to yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that voice in their head, which is telling them off all the time. Like, how could you be so stupid? What an idiot. How could you do that?
Your inner critic.
Your inner critic. And when I ask people, you know, would you talk to your best friend like this? Would you talk to your mom like this? Would you talk to your child like this? Oh, God, no. Absolutely not. So why are you talking to yourself like this? Why are you, if you're constantly abusing yourself, you're not going to give yourself any time to build up resilience because you're constantly putting yourself down. So we need to change that inner critic as well, which can be changed, but we need to change that into us having compassion for ourselves first. So it's okay to be angry at what that person did because I didn't actually like it, but what should I do about it now? It's not okay to have punched him in the face because I was angry, you know, but it's okay to be angry. And then anger is a really good emotion when used properly because it's what propels you forward to actually take action. So God forbid, you know, if parents had some children who got run over crossing your road and, or disabled or whatever. It's the anger that will propel the parents forward to go and campaign for having a zebra crossing in that place. So it is a good emotion. It's full of energy, but we just need to know how to use it. So yeah, knowing your emotions and knowing how to regulate your emotions and being happy with your emotions. Unfortunately, what happens a lot is that as children, we are told to suppress our emotions. So we are told not to feel them. We are told that we shouldn't feel them.
Don't cry.
Don't cry. Unfortunately, it's still a lot of boys who get don't cry.
Yeah.
Girls get a lot of like, come back when you're happy.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be happy. Come back when you're happy. It's this false happiness that you have to have. It's a bit like the beginning of the Barbie film. Did you ever see the Barbie film?
Yeah.
It's a bit like, everybody has to be happy and we can only be happy. It's like, it's unrealistic. So we then as adults have to learn that we do have emotions. We run off emotions. Emotions is what actually
fuel us,
propels us forward, and fuels us, and understand them and have them.
Okay. In your experience, are some people born more resilient than others, or is it just childhood experiences?
I don't think there's any proof to say that you genetically inherent in like it comes in your
No,
genes.
like people are.
So I don't think people are born more, but it comes from your environment. What you see around you from the ages of 0 to 14, what you see around you, not necessarily to you, actually goes into your unconscious brain.
Yeah.
They used to say that things like anxiety is heredited. Like it's not. It's learned behavior. So if you are in a family where there are anxious adults around, your unconscious brain is going, oh, that's how adults behave, so that's how I'm going to behave. If you're in a family that finds solutions calmly for things and allows people to have their emotions, you're going, oh, that's how adults behave, that's how I'm going to behave. So then it looks like you were born with resilience. You weren't. You're in a community that was surrounding you with resilience.
How can resilience be strengthened? Or if there's some strategies or practices that people can do so that they can just train themselves to become more resilient?
So we talked about being able to understand your emotions. That's one thing, is to actually, when you feel upset or when you feel sad, sit with it. And that feels uncomfortable, but you might want to sit with it just for 2 minutes before you distract yourself into something else. But actually try, be mindful of what you're feeling and sit with it as opposed to running away from it. Be mindful of your reaction. A lot of people, when they've had their emotions suppressed, will turn every type of emotion into anger. So everything they feel comes out as anger. So being mindful of those reactions, you have to start looking at yourself. But the other thing is resilience is having positive thoughts, but not unrealistic positive thoughts, realistic positive thoughts.
Not like the Barbie film.
So when we start thinking negative thoughts, like CBT, one of the things it does is like, where is the evidence for that negative thought right now? So when people are thinking, I have some clients who come to me and they're like, what if I lose my job? And my question will quite often be, so when was the last time you lost your job? Never. When was the last time you didn't have a job? Never. Okay, so the evidence is showing that you are employable and have always been employed. So it's very unlikely that you're going to lose your job. So when you have that thought, what if I lose my job? You say to yourself, it's very unlikely I'm going to lose my job. Eventually, your thoughts will become positive because you're talking back to your thoughts in a positive way, but you're not trying to say, don't be so stupid, don't think that, it's okay. Like, do you know what I mean? You're actually showing positive, concrete evidence for that thought actually not being based in reality. It's based in fear. So once you start doing that, you begin to have your thoughts based in reality and being positive, then that obviously is going to give you resilience, because whenever there is a situation that's difficult, you're going to come up with positive thoughts around that situation, even if the situation itself is difficult.
There's a misconception, I think, that resilient people are kind of emotionally disconnected, although you speak about emotions, that it's key to being more resilient.
So that's what I said at the beginning, is that person who can freeze, like who freezes because they don't know what to do with the situation, or that person who can switch themselves off, they're not connected to their emotions, so therefore they can't be resilient. It just looks like they are, but actually they are going to go away at some point and have some type of breakdown or meltdown, or they might look at work that they're disconnected, so they're good, but I bet you they'll go home and, like, I don't know, kick the budgie or whatever they'll do, kick the wall, I don't know. So I wrote an article recently for doctors, because doctors used to do this a lot. They're work is very stressful. They literally have people's lives in their hands, very, very stressful. And they will stay calm and they will do the work, but they will quite often have other ways of coping when they go home. So they might, I don't know, become a shopaholic or a scrollaholic or a type of any holic, basically, to cope with looking like they're resilient here. Or they might end up with sort of middle-aged diseases that are physically based. So you might end up with high blood pressure, with high cholesterol. You might even end up with diabetes. Or all of this is because you have not been able to feel and have your emotions. So yeah, no, resilience isn't a lack of emotions. And there are people who still say, oh, you know, I don't have emotions. We live off emotions, but they've just suppressed them, and suppressing them actually can make you ill. You can have autoimmune diseases. It makes you physically ill if you suppress them.
Yeah, I think it is commonly mistaken that being resilient means you don't have emotions. You're, you know, someone who's a straight shooter and who doesn't just like business-like all the time, robotic even.
No.
But no.
No, no, not at all.
Yeah.
And when you're suppressing your emotions to look like you're resilient in these difficult times, you're also suppressing happiness. So you then don't know how to access happiness or joy.
Yeah.
And you think that happiness is pleasure. So you go after, you know, buying the next big car or buying a house or having events like getting married or having a child. These are all pleasure. They're not happiness. They in themselves don't bring you happiness, long-term happiness. Pleasure is short-term. So pleasure is kind of like the cherry on top of the cake.
So situational?
It's situational and short-term, and you have to keep running after it. And it's a bit like ego. It goes up and down.
Okay.
And you have to keep running after it for your next bit of pleasure and your next bit of pleasure. Whereas happiness is just, you're happy even if you don't have any pleasure. You have inner contentment and inner, like there's not, in all, you're not meant to have joy and contentment in terrible, terrible times, but you have an inner contentment with yourself. And that's totally different to chasing pleasure.
That's actually very interesting. I never knew that. It was just always interchangeable, like pleasure, happiness, joy, enjoyment. They're more or less the same. I never stopped to think that they're not the same.
So happiness and contentment, if you got rid of all the outside things, like somebody came along and took your job away and took your job title away and took your house away and took your car away and, I don't know, put you in the middle of somewhere and said, start again. If you have inner contentment and inner joy, you're going to be able to start again. You're going to be resilient because you know who you are and you have inner self-worth. If you have always relied on the outside to give you that self-worth and that confidence, you're not going to have resilience when they put you in this place and take everything away from you.
But would someone actually be, I mean, content if they lose everything?
Okay,
like
no,
that?
you might be unhappy with losing everything, but you still have an inner contentment. You still like yourself. You still have self-worth. It just,
I see what you mean.
When COVID came along, you know, people who were defined by their jobs and lost their jobs found it really hard. But people who lost their jobs but aren't defined by their jobs, they're not going to find it as hard. They're going to have the resilience because it's not their job title that made them.
I see what you mean. So people who are not tying their self-worth to the material things. So I am not my car, I'm not my job, I'm not my house, I'm me, and these are just extras. Okay, yeah, makes sense. So what are some modern day barriers that you see to building resilience?
If we look at the younger generation and the generation that are on social media and are on their phones and are constantly scrolling, there's two things that goes on there. One, they expect things to happen immediately. You send a message, you get the answer. You ask someone a question, send them a, I don't know, Snapchat, and they answer you straight away. If they don't answer you straight away, you start thinking, what's wrong with me? Why didn't they answer me? What's wrong with them? What's happening? Don't they like me anymore? Have they got another friend? Whatever.
Yeah.
This idea of immediacy stops resilience because you're not able to wait. I don't know, say in the days where there was no social media and I was meant to be meeting you and you didn't turn up, I would then have to get, I'm making this up by the way, I would have to get a bus back home and think about why you didn't have to meet me. And I would have to sit with those feelings about thinking about why you didn't meet me. And then I'd have to call you from the phone at home, right? So I've had time to think and process. It's not immediate. Immediate stops resilience from building. We need time to think, we need time to process, we need time to assimilate. So this immediate, like it's there and it's immediate on your phone or on your computer, emails, whatever, not good at all whatsoever. And sometimes there's a lack of community, because your community also gives you resilience.
Yeah.
Knowing that there are people there to hold you up, but real people there to hold you up, that gives you resilience. That means if you make a mistake at work, and if somebody shouts at you, and if you lose your job, or if something bad happens at work, or you know that there's a whole community there that will, you know, lift you up or help you. Or whereas where your community is in, you know, not real, it's virtual, you actually don't know what's happening. There's also the idea that can give you a lot of negative thoughts, which is everybody's having their best Instagram life, or their best Snapchat life, or their best whatever life, which actually isn't reality. So nobody's actually talking about the negative things that are happening, and they are happening, but people aren't talking about them. Or if they do, there's those people talk a lot about them, it's all negative, and then those people that's all positive, and there's no balance. And there needs to be a balance. And then there was one more thing I was going to say, but now I've forgotten. Yes, I know, I remember. So one of the things that all this social media gives you is dopamine. And if you're getting your dopamine from all the social media, you also get dopamine from interaction with people, with real people. So you're not going to want to have that dopamine with those real people. So then that leads into not having a community and not spending time with people. And people give you resilience.
I like that. I like that you say that. Okay, what is your advice today to everyone listening to us?
So I have talked about sort of, to me, they're tricks and skills that are surface level, but a lot of the time we run on fear. People run on fear, and if you run on fear, you're running away from what you don't want. You'll eventually crash into what you don't want, because you're putting all your energy in there. And if you're running on fear, you're not able to build resilience, because you're running on fear. So if you're running on fear that, you know, I've known people who they get rich because they were poor when they were little, and they never want to be poor again. And it's the fear of being poor that's making them get rich. And yes, they might get rich, but they actually still have the fear. And now they can't get rich enough, and they might lose all their money. And if you're running on those type of thoughts, one of the ways to have real resilience is to actually be able to process those thoughts and let them go. We don't have to walk around with them. One of the things that I get really frustrated at is when people say things like, oh, you know, we all have baggage. And I'm like, you don't have to carry that baggage with you. You can put it down, let go of it, not carry. It's like people carrying this kitchen sink with them. Like, why would you do that? Like, let's process it, leave it over there, leave it in my room with me, and just go away and like be lighter. And then you can have the resilience, the real resilience. So we can process this stuff. We don't need to carry our baggage with us. It's not there forever.
Any recommendation to how people can process their baggage?
Well, then they tend to need to do it with somebody professional like me.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be me, but someone like me. It's a bit like, you know, again, I say, if your car breaks down and you're like, I'm just driving it around to my mum's to see if she can fix it. Right, unless she's a mechanic, she can't.
Yeah.
And there's that very good saying, which I love, which is stop asking people the way to places they've never been.
Yeah.
So, you know, when there is baggage to be processed, then processing it with somebody who knows how to process is a lot more helpful than just talking about it, because it's not just about talking. What we do isn't talking. It looks like talking, but it's not talking.
People are using AI and ChatGPT now to process their baggage, apparently.
So it can, to a certain level, to a certain extent, but what AI can't do, which is what I do, is read between the lines and see what you're not saying.
Yeah.
And what you're not saying is the most important thing. And reading between the lines and seeing how you are in your body and how you move, and
reactions.
All of that is really important. It's not just what you say, but you can definitely use it to a certain extent. If you know how to use it, yes, you can, but it's never going to replace actually talking to someone who's going to look at what you're not saying and be able to join the dots.
I'm personally against it, but it is a thing. Look, it's a trend now.
One of my clients I was talking to who wants to change her career, and we've been talking about, you know, where her first career came from, why she's doing it, what pushed her into doing that career, and we've been talking about what type of other career. There's a whole process of it. But we came up with a definition for, well, I came up with a definition of her, and I was like, put that in AI and see what careers they come up with. Like, you can do that. And then I'm like, put your CV in AI and say, how can I change this for this type of career? How would I rewrite this CV? Brilliant for stuff like that. But
oh, though, for that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can give AI direction, But if you're not a professional and you don't know what you're doing, you can't give AI direction. So therefore, it's not that good to use AI when you don't know what you're doing yourself.
I don't think you can use AI when it's about emotions. I think you can use AI for facts and information and career advice and what is out there and what is the most requested job role or what is the most in-demand position. Yes, I think you can absolutely use AI for that. But I
Your emotions,
personally,
you
yeah.
need somebody who knows what they're doing and who can
You
read
need
between
someone
the
who
lines.
understands emotions, and it's AI. So
AI understands the factual basis behind emotions, if that makes sense. So it can give you a certain amount of answers. I'm not totally denying that you can't do a
yeah,
tiny bit there,
tiny.
but it's a bit like reading a self-help book.
Yeah.
You do a tiny bit there. You can't, it won't
It just
actually,
puts you on the way.
yeah, it won't get rid of your baggage for sure. It won't take your baggage and put it in their living room like I do
No.
with me.
That's great. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you so much
Thank you for having
joining
me.
us, and this was a very inspiring conversation.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To all our listeners, hope you're feeling as inspired as I am. And if you learned something from this episode, please share it with your family and friends so they can learn something too. We're available on YouTube video and music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Rami and Amazon Music. Stay well and keep thriving.